Oh dear. So Bricktop is saying that Tyson Fury won't sign the contract until he's happy that the guaranteed purse is secured. So basically, fighters get a guaranteed amount of money and then they get a percentage of the pay-per-view revenue on top of that. And according to Frank Warren, Fury is not confident that the guaranteed amount of money is actually guaranteed. So he's not willing to sign until he gets that to his satisfaction. And Frank Warren says that's what the holdup is. He says Fury's only going to wait a couple days in terms of before he moves on. Let's hope the situation can be resolved. Now, of course, you're going to have people saying Tyson Fury is looking to duck the fight. He doesn't really want it. His team don't really want it. They've been talking about going in a different direction because that's actually what they've wanted to do all along. Look, that kind of thing might be fair game because you've had that from Team Fury, who've been saying AJ don't really want to fight. Frank Warren for the longest time said AJ don't want to fight. Then he had to backtrack and say, actually, okay, AJ does want to fight. Now, the question you have to ask here is, if Anthony Joshua is happy with the situation and the guarantee, why isn't Tyson Fury? Maybe Anthony Joshua does have certain assurances that Tyson Fury hasn't been given. I don't know. We can only speculate. But what Frank Warren is saying here is definitely going to add fuel to that particular fire, that the Gypsy King is not quite as game as he makes out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully, all of this will become irrelevant in the next couple days and we'll get an announcement that the fight is done. Eddie Hearn has been very bullish all along. He's been telling reporters over the past few days, 100% the next fight for AJ is Tyson Fury. That there's no doubt in his mind at all. When you hear stuff like that, it gives you hope. And Frank Warren comes in and says, oh, well, Tyson Fury's not going to sign unless he gets these guarantees. I mean, look, I'm not criticizing Tyson Fury for wanting guarantees, but I'm just thinking in my head, is it really plausible that the Saudis, who we know have a lot of money, would, have Tyson Fury fight in their country and then not pay him what they say they're going to pay him? I mean, maybe it is plausible, but it would ruin their reputation in terms of putting on boxing events, wouldn't it? Don't they want to continue putting on boxing events long term? Are they really going to do that? At the end of the day, it's not a promoter we're talking about. And again, this is assuming the fight's in Saudi, but that's what people are saying. August 14th in Saudi is the date. This is a government. This is not some promotional company. Okay? It's a government in an oil-rich country. So make of it what you will. Let me know what your perspective is in the comments below. Let me know what your suspicions are, because at the end of the day, we can only speculate. There is no definitive answer here. Yes, Tyson Fury's definitely ducking. Yes, Team AJ are doing something dodgy or the money isn't secure. There's no definitive answer. Just give me your thoughts on it, your suspicions on it. That's all. Anyway, switching gears. I like to occasionally throw you guys a curveball at the end and talk about something completely unrelated. In a recent video, I decried two prominent British news outlets, and it provoked some very ignorant responses, such as, "You picked on the only two that aren't funded by billionaires." They are funded by billionaires if you actually bother to check. And also, "You're clueless, hat man. Stick to boxing." This kind of ignorant nonsense. You're dealing with people who have all the critical thinking ability of single cell amoeba, literally. There was one individual who said, "Propaganda is just any view that you don't agree with." No, it's not. Propaganda is when you don't allow facts or conflicting evidence to stand in the way of furthering your agenda. There are Deontay Wilder fans out here talking about egg weights in gloves and spiked water as if it's gospel truth. That is propaganda. It's a flagrant disregard for objectivity in pursuit of a particular end. Anyway, I won't be fully addressing these comments in this video. Instead, I've left a link in the pinned comment below to a Rumble video where I do respond in more depth. It's free to watch. You don't need an account. Just go ahead and click the link. Now, as many of you may know, I recently responded to a Chris Andre video about Chris Eubank Jr., and he subsequently made a counter response. Now, I'm not here to counter respond to his counter response, but what I will do is explain why I decided to address him in the first place. Now, I've been making YouTube videos for 11 years. And in all that time, you could probably count on one hand the number of occasions on which I've directly addressed another channel in terms of expressing disagreement, and you'd still have fingers to spare. It's exceptionally rare for me to do this. So why did I address Chris Andre? Well, the short answer is he's very intelligent, he's a great boxing analyst, and he's capable of engaging in a civil and dispassionate discussion. When I engage with this type of person, there is a mutual ability and willingness to comprehend and consider each other's points. So I might actually learn something from him, and he might actually learn something from me. It's a fruitful exchange. When I'm reading the comments on my videos, the intelligent people reveal themselves by showing the same ability and willingness to comprehend and consider. Even if they disagree, the fact that they've shown that ability usually means that their intellect is sufficiently advanced to facilitate fruitful discourse. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not fall within that category. The majority of YouTube boxing channels are either trolls, fanatics, race baiters, people with very limited boxing knowledge, low intelligence, or people who are afflicted with pathological ignorance. In most cases, it's a combination of any or all of the above. These people are just not capable of civil, dispassionate, and intelligent discourse. So I just don't waste my time with them. A small minority of them may have good boxing knowledge, but they're fanatical about certain fighters. And this is where the cognitive dissonance comes in, and it's all downhill from there. A lot of boxing fans and people in society in general operate within the intellectual confines of dichotomous thinking. If you criticize Anthony Joshua, they automatically assume you're a Tyson Fury fan. If you criticize Fury, they automatically assume you're an AJ fan. If you criticize The Guardian, they automatically assume you're an avid mail reader, this type of thing. And they will typically turn up in the comment section accusing you of bias or hurling abuse at you. Normally, I don't even respond to these people. I just block them. One, because I get thousands of comments, and therefore I simply do not have the time nor the patience to try and talk sense into these people. And two, because they are usually incapable of seeing sense anyway. You're dealing with individuals who are psychologically predisposed to dichotomous thinking. They see everything in black and white. There are no shades of gray with these people. They're incapable of comprehending nuance, and they project that pathology onto you. So any attempt at objective discourse is an exercise in futility. They're just not capable of it. So again, I don't even waste my time with these people. It's block and delete. I want to cultivate an audience who at least have a baseline level of acceptable intelligence, and therefore it's necessary to weed out the idiots from time to time. You get these types, the likes of which I encountered on a recent video, who say stuff like, "Don't talk about that subject, you're clueless, Hatman." These people are invariably the least intelligent, the least informed, and ironically, the most clueless people you'll ever come across. And the reason they say, don't talk about that subject, is because they are absolutely terrified of having their perceptions challenged. So whenever you start to do so, they immediately go into panic mode and want to shut down any discourse. There's no attempt to comprehend and consider. In fact, there's no attempt to engage in dialogue at all. It's just, don't talk about that. These tend to be people who cannot think for themselves, and therefore they are absolutely terrified of people who can. Like I said, they have all the critical thinking ability of single-cell amoeba. They tend to fall within the parameters of what is usually referred to as cognitive dissonance, and they are afflicted by what I like to call pathological ignorance. This is a very common condition in which the individual is not only ignorant due to lack of knowledge, but their psychology is configured in such a way that they are incapable of assimilating facts and information which contradict their pre-existing perceptions. They'll often construct complex delusions in order to reconcile the dichotomy. The mildness or severity of this condition is largely predicated on how cognizant the individual is of the driving forces and mechanisms of their own subconscious. In other words, the better you know your own mind, the less afflicted you'll be. Anyway, I'll discuss this further in the Rumble video. It's free to watch. You don't need an account. Just click the link in the pinned comment below.